let's talk about something millions of us do every single day, often without giving it a second thought, using public Wi-Fi. But there's a hidden risk here that we really need to understand. So picture this. You're at the airport, maybe grabbing a coffee while you wait for your flight. You connect to their free Wi-Fi to quickly check your bank balance. It connects. It works just fine. Everything seems completely normal, right? But here's the thing. What if that Wi-Fi network isn't actually the coffee shop's? That's the critical question we almost never ask. And this dangerous misunderstanding that a network is safe just because you're inside a familiar business is exactly what makes us so vulnerable. Okay, so to really get a handle on the stakes here, we need to look at how your data actually travels through the internet, because there's a huge difference between your network at home and the public ones we connect to when we're out. Think about it like this. Your home network, that's your private, secure space. Your data is encrypted right from the get-go. But public Wi-Fi, that's a whole different story. It's built for easy access, not for security. It's a shared connection, and a lot of the time it's not even encrypted. And that can lead directly to some pretty serious problems, like someone getting into your accounts or even severe financial loss. So how does this actually happen? How can someone just intercept your information? Well, this brings us to the #1 threat on public networks. It's called a man-in-the-middle attack. And it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. A malicious actor secretly puts themselves right between you and the internet. A good way to think about it is like sending a postcard. Anyone who gets their hands on it can just flip it over and read whatever you wrote. Here's how it could play out. An attacker sits down and sets up their own mobile hotspot. They give it a really believable name, something like hotel guest Wi-Fi. You see it, you connect to it, you think it's the real deal. From that moment on, any sensitive data you send, passwords, bank info, it all flows right through their device. They're intercepting everything, reading your digital information just like that open postcard. And that right there is the core problem. On public Wi-Fi, you can never, ever be 100% sure who actually owns the network or who might be listening. All right, so this all sounds pretty bad, but it leads us straight to the solution, something called a virtual private network, or VPN. But before we get into what a VPN does, we need to clear up a really common misconception about website security. You've probably seen that little padlock icon in your browser's address bar, right? And a lot of us think that means our connection is totally safe. But on a public network, even with that padlock, attackers can still see which websites you're going to. And worse, they can actually use special tools to force your browser to downgrade to an unsecured connection. And if that happens, your passwords can be exposed in plain text. And that is the exact problem a VPN is designed to solve. A virtual private network is a service that creates a secure, fully encrypted connection, even when you're on an unsecured network. You can think of it as your own private, protected tunnel for all your internet data. So let's go back to that postcard analogy. With the VPN turned on, your data gets sealed inside that encrypted tunnel before it even leaves your phone or your laptop. It's like taking that postcard and locking it inside a solid steel briefcase before you even drop it in the mail. Now, even if someone intercepts that briefcase, there's just no way for them to open it and read what's inside. So what does all this mean? It really brings us to a crucial point. Taking control of your privacy isn't a passive thing. It requires you to take an active role in your own digital safety. The most important takeaway here is about a shift in perspective. We have to start with the assumption that any public Wi-Fi network is, by its very nature, compromised. Now, the point here isn't to be afraid. It's about building a smart, proactive habit for your own digital security. Once you adopt that mindset, you start to see that real digital privacy comes from taking control of your own connection. When you have the right tool, the risk of using public networks is basically neutralized. You're creating your own secure perimeter, no matter where you are. So the next time you open your laptop in a coffee shop or an airport, just remember, you don't have to wonder or guess if a network is safe. The power to protect your privacy is, quite literally, in your hands. The only real question is, how are you going to use it?